Hey, how's it going? It's your boy M.K.S here, back in another video. Obviously, I'm back up with part 3 of, I suppose you could say, case for Celtic to be tax exempt, or if not completely tax exempt, then at least to pay the lowest amount of taxes, as I often mentioned, as I've mentioned in part 1 and 2. Please check them out if you've already done so, by the way. If I'd love for Celtic to be tax exempt, that would be my biggest dream in this area. If not, at least to have state aid and stroke or lottery funding. So anyway, I hope to talk about some of my reasons for that, and I did so in part 1 and 2. So this is obviously part 3, where I hope to cover idea number 21 to 30. And as ever, I'd love to hear your thoughts. If there are any ideas you disagreed with, agreed with, or anything you want to say, any questions you want to ask, or anything you want to comment, negative or positive, preferably the latter. So here goes, without further ado, because I don't want to be too long. As I say, I'm back on the tea because it's part 3. And I know I do drink a lot of tea. For anyone who has watched my videos, you'll know. Anyway, here goes. So number 21, as I mentioned a few times, I think that for those who don't know the history, basically, or to recap it, even I myself don't know 100% about it or that much about it, but obviously there was the potato famine, which most people around the world would have probably heard of, and in fact at that point it was so bad that I think even Native Americans actually helped the Irish community, and recently in return the Irish community have helped the Native Americans back to say thank you because of the of what they were going through in, unfortunately, under COVID. So it was great to see, although it's sad that they're going through it, it was great to see the Irish return the favour. So I think that was a good bit of sort of payback or karma or giving back in a positive way. But yeah, so obviously the famine was really bad and people immigrated, and the Irish community suffered a lot of discrimination. So I do think it'd be good to see the Irish community, the Irish diaspora across Scotland, if not the UK generally, and particularly in Glasgow, where they suffered probably the most discrimination, arguably. Again, I welcome any counter arguments for any point I make. But as far as I'm aware, they probably suffered the most in Glasgow. I'd love to hear, in fact, in the comment section, if anyone would disagree with me or agree with me on that point, or where they think the Irish diaspora suffered the most. But nevertheless, anyway, they suffered a lot in the UK. So I do think it'd be good to see reparations for what happened to the Irish community. And one way to do that, I think, would be to help the football team, which I suppose for the Irish community in Glasgow specifically, if not in the whole of Scotland, would be probably the biggest outside of Ireland itself, actually, for the diaspora is Celtic FC. So I think it would be good to see that reparations go to them. As I mentioned in parts 1 and 2, and it does feel bad to mention, but I'm going to mention it for the final time for these videos. And I have meant to make videos talking about this, because I think, as I say, our rivals Rangers always say we sweep it under the carpet or whatever, but the historical abuses against children, unfortunately, which happened at the club, which is a shameful part of the history, I do think that Celtic should pay whatever the word I was thinking of was going right, but that doesn't feel right, the right way to put it. But whatever is the normal amount, if you like, of compensation, whatever the legal term is, or whatever, that would be paid towards victims to help them to recover, or whatever support they should be given or are normally given in general cases, which probably happen with other football clubs and institutions and things like that. So I think they should definitely be paid that money back. But at the same time, I do think that Rangers should be forced to pay for their crimes that they've done, like vandalism and violence, like when they were in Manchester, trashing up the whole city, and a lot of racist elements, and again, Irish Catholic anti-Irish and Catholic sentiments within their own club, especially historically. So I think it would be fair for both teams, or any team that's done, or any football team or company that's done bad, or country even that's done bad, to pay for their crimes in some way. So I thought I'd mention that point anyway, so that it's fair. So yeah, I do think if they do save money on the tax, or they do have financial investments or whatever, that those victims should come first and be supported. But I thought, as I say, I would mention that point. I think it's very important to mention, to be fair. Anyway, moving on. This video's got quite long, so I don't want it to be too long. So obviously I want to be respectful, but yeah, I thought it is important to mention that point. And as embarrassing and sad as it is for the club and of us fans, I'm sure. But anyway, moving to the next point, number 22. I would love to. I hope that making videos like this will raise the issue, and then if any investors and illegal teams can look into ways to do so, again, I keep mentioning legally, to cut taxes for Celtic, or to pay the least amount of taxes, what we can pay legally in block capitals. That is the most important thing for me in terms of the tax situation at Celtic and the finances and things like that. So number 23, for all the good work that Celtic have done overseas in places like Kenya, and I hope they can do even more of it. And again, if they save money on their taxes, they can still invest in the club, but at the same time create things like football academies, even more football academies than they already do in places like Nigeria and Cameroon, Kenya, and South Africa, and across Africa and Asia as well, like in India and China. And I hope they'll build like supporters clubs and academies in all of those, in all possible countries, especially in Africa and in particular Asia as well, which is the most populous continent. But I hope that also it will be a mutual benefit. So I hope people in China and India will benefit through like getting into football, getting better health, exercise, and things like that. I'll drink to that. But again, I think a case for tax exemptions, or at least tax cuts for Celtic, would be the charitable work they do overseas, which I hope will make a very positive difference. A lot of charities I love to support myself, like Rare Gem School in Kenya and things like that. So I hope, I'd love to see Rare Gem, in fact, become a part of Celtic. Like, and maybe they could send kits, football kits and things like that for the kids there. And they could be called the Kenyan Celts or something. I think it has quite a ring to it, because there's the Thai Tims, there could be the Kenyan Celts and things like that. Number 24, because our rivals Rangers have like songs like Rule Britannia, they're very pro-monarchist, royalist and military and things like that, which is their choice. I mean, obviously, I do believe in freedom, as I've mentioned, but because of that, I'd love to see Celtic to have can't think of the word, investment. Sorry, that's what I'm looking for. Investments from countries like China and India, countries that were colonized by the UK, which is a heck of a lot of the world. I can't remember how much they say the world was colonized by the UK. Probably like half of it, or maybe not quite that much. But anyway, whatever countries that have been colonized by the UK, I would love for those countries to be able to invest in Celtic, because our rivals are like the Imperialists, towards a mutual benefit. I hope it will benefit those countries and Celtic FC. And I think it would be unfair for them to have to pay taxes on that investment, because if they make any profits from it, because in the long term or short term or whatever, because of the fact it's like they were colonized by the UK, and then having to pay taxes to the UK if they invest in a football club, to me doesn't seem very fair. So that's another incentive. Talking about incentives of why I think it would be good to see Celtic pay the least amount of tax as possible. Number 25, some of those would be republics as well. And as I mentioned again in part one, most Celtic, or certainly a lot of Celtic fans are royalists, are not military supporters, are not into militarism or Anshrik, we are, I myself anyway, am not really into militarism, and I'm not a royalist. So as a Republican, I think it is another incentive of why I would love to see Celtic being able to keep as much money as possible without having to pay too much tax on it, or paying the lowest amount of tax possible. And they could reinvest, again, they could still do a lot of good work in Glasgow, which is a deprived area, and support more poor and homeless and disabled and disadvantaged people generally as well with that money, rather than give it to people who are already rich, like the royals. Again, these are all my personal opinions. Number 26, again, talking about the anti-imperial stuff and reparations. Number 27, I think it'd be great to acknowledge any legal team or any lawyers or legal team or anyone with knowledge who helps, any investors or anyone like that who helps Celtic to cut their taxes again legally. Number 28, I think a lot more good stuff could be done with that tax money if it was saved for the club to use for more positive or constructive stuff, and less like what the government wastes money on, or less, again, going to things like militarism, invasions, wars, royalty, and things like that, which are things that I think most Celtic fans probably, or certainly, as I say, a good section of us do not support. Number 29, I hope to bring together a lobby team which would look into reasons and look into the legal aspect of whether Celtic can actually legally save more money on tax. Maybe the club does, maybe clubs do already do so, but I think if they could save even more, it would be great, and pay the lowest amount of taxes possible, but use that money instead for the money we save, I'll say as a fan, on good, productive things, arguably. And number 30, as ever, I would love to hear your thoughts, and sorry if I waffled, and I am out. Peace out.